Okay, perfect. I hope that woke some of you up. I know we have people logging in from all over, and I'm really excited to walk you through some of the great insights we have here today. I can also see a bunch of people on the call that are repeat attendees of webinars. I'm fantastic to always see you joining us. I'm glad that this gives me a solid validation that I talk sense because sometimes these monologue webinars can be they can make you doubtful about what you're even talking about. So I'm so happy that I can see a lot of repeat faces. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. We have an interesting, a lot of interesting things to talk about. But specifically, we picked this because there's a lot of buzz about AI. I think we are all probably reading about it many times a day. Some of us are using it. I'm a power user as far as AI goes in all ways and forms. ConvertCard is implementing AI across our product in many ways. We have ways in which our team uses it, ways in which our customers leverage it, and we are really excited about it. I know that the human survival instinct makes you think about AI in a negative way, but it's up to us whether we see it as a gift or a risk. And at ConvertCart, we see it as a huge gift. We are not a model making company, but we are a company that's going to leverage a lot of these models. And so we are very optimistic about how it's going to create a lot of value for our customers, for ourselves, and of course for the end user of e-commerce that's trying to shop and find something that they want to buy. Now, as far as AI goes and today's discussion goes, we're going to keep it very simple. I have 20 use cases for AI, which means these are 20 ways in which an e-commerce entrepreneur like yourself or operator like yourself, I know we have a few operators joining us today as well, can leverage AI. Now, I'm not going to go into the depth of how to implement it, which tool to use, how to bring it into your business, because that's level two. Level one is first identifying one or two use cases that you are extremely confident about making sense for you. And so I want you to look at these 20. I won't take too long to walk you through them and find the one or two, which you feel will have the maximum impact on your business, which are going to be high priority for you. Once you're happy with that is when you should actually double click and go deeper into how you could implement it. Originally we thought we'll also make a list of tools you can use, but I feel that would be doing injustice to the actual use case, because in a lot of cases, these tools are nothing but other technology companies creating a software to sell. And so when you do it that way, you are limited to what they can help you achieve instead of what use case you're trying to complete. So I want us to be very first principles based and very use case focused in this discussion. And so we have about 20 of these things that I want to walk you through today. I'm happy to take questions as we go, so you can put it in the chat or the Q&A section. I hope the chat is working. I did get a couple of chats, but again, each time this happens, people end up DMing me instead of putting it in everyone. So anyways, put your questions in the chat or the Q&A section. I'll take it as I talk. And otherwise, of course, we'll take it up at the end, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So let's get into AI. Let's talk about AI specific to e-commerce. And if you feel that there is a need to get in and talk about AI as a whole, help you kind of demystify it and do that, I'm happy to do one more webinar. So please don't forget to reply to me when I reach out to you after this with an email for notes, with notes from this conversation. But I would love to understand what are the things that are on your mind. What are the things you feel we should talk about? If you have some of that advice for us, please put it in chat. What are the things that bother you about AI? And this is one such way in which we wanted to kind of solve for that. But, one of the feedback that I already received when we launched this webinar is, why are you not first explaining how AI works and, how it could kind of be brought into e-commerce? So this is one way of doing that. I'm happy to walk you through that. And yeah, let's jump in. Let's start with the first few use cases and then kind of go from there. While we jump into this, one quick precedent that I want to kind of set about AI in e-commerce is that if I were to put in a list all of the industries that will benefit from AI, e-commerce is up top. It's in the top 5, 100%. There are so many facets in e-commerce that matter. There is, of course, the storefront, there is marketing, there's demand gen, there is customer support, there's logistics, there's payments. And so there are so many different areas in which AI can completely transform the e-commerce experience bit by bit, but the overall impact of AI on e-commerce is going to be very solid. So let's get into this. I'm going to jump into the first idea and then we can go from there. The first one is really simple. It's omni-channel data collection. It's simpler said than done. because I just want to articulate something that normally when I see companies analyzing data using their own team or their agency or whoever else, somebody really smart, they're generally looking at data in a very, very singular or, in a very maybe 1 or 2 dimension way. The data is not 3 dimension. When I say 3, 4, or 5 dimension, which means normally you're looking at, okay, let me look at my conversion rate in relevance to devices, or conversion rate in relevance to devices for maybe new users. So that's 3 dimensions. And you can actually take that to the next level, but that's not going to happen till you start collecting data from many, many different channels and bring that all in one place. So what I really mean is, if you are an omni-channel business, you collect data and collate it from all your channels, so website, your offline store, your mobile app, etc. If you're not an omni-channel business, even for your website, there's so many pieces of data that you're missing out. For example, within the site experience, product discovery throws out a different set of data. What did people search for? What are they looking for? Why did they look for that? All of those motivations. And then, of course, there's chat. What are they chatting about? What are their issues? What are the pages that they see, etc. I'll give you one simple insight, and I've given this in an earlier webinar as well. I want you to, for example, look at your funnel of data for conversion rate. And one of the things you'll find is that people who visit your website's FAQ page and then convert will be that conversion rate for that part of the journey, it will be extremely high. And so that's something that should really make you think, because FAQ is an extremely high intent piece of data, piece of content on your site. But that's such an easy data point that is very easily overlooked. What we are able to do at ConvertCart, for example, is throw a lot of raw data into the system, and then that tells us what are the key things that they're able to notice. So again, as I said, we'll not explain how to do this. Let's first attack what are the things that really are top of mind for you. For example, if you're not a business big enough that has mountains of data to analyze and find these nuances, stick to the basics. Don't focus on this as a problem. There are 19 more things I'll walk you through, so you can pick something from there. But the point is that generally speaking, businesses are analyzing data using Google Analytics and other tools in a very single dimension way. And so what we want to do is have you find a way to look at click-through rates, look at product views, look at cart additions, look at chats, look at people who are visiting non-product pages, people who are trying to come from different channels, the kind of ad they click on, the kind of messaging they leave, the value they purchase, all of those data points kind of collating into a single place and then giving you insights. What that also allows you to do is do mind-blowing customer segmentation. I think AI is categorically very capable of doing this. ConvertCart has over the last 6 months built a very powerful segmentation engine for 2 reasons. One, we have our email marketing platform called Engage. We use segmentation there very, very actively for our customers. And so we are able to create a lot of these out-of-the-box customer segments, including VIP customers, customers that are likely to churn in the next 20 days, customers who are likely to repeat in the next 30 days, and so on and so forth. So we are able to do what is called an RFM analysis very fast, and also back it up with a lot of insights using AI. So RFM is recency, frequency, and monetary value. How recently somebody bought from you, at what frequency do they buy, and what is the monetary value that they spend with you. Those 3 metrics plus all of the other data that is available to you allows you to get after the most important customers in a timely way. At the end of the day, segmentation helps you show the right product, the right message to the right customer at the right time. And that, in my opinion, is the holy grail of marketing. So I think with AI, it's going to become easier for smaller businesses to leverage that and make it and put it to use. For example, campaigns, generally speaking, sent to well-segmented audiences convert a lot better. So I think the real outcome of something like this is recognizing patterns which are obvious, recognizing patterns that are not obvious, and then taking it to the next level by looking at micro conversions and conversions. I'll give you an example of all of those 3 things. For example, people who are buying items without a discount are your customers that have a high affinity to the product and have high capacity to pay. They're not value conscious, they are outcome conscious. Whereas there could be customers that are exhibiting multiple visits before they actually buy. So they're showing you a different kind of behavior. Or even people who are, or a segment of customers that has a lot of micro conversions, like opt-ins and that kind of stuff, but no transactions. So that's another opportunity for you to try and attack. So again, the bottom line is create these segments. It's only when you will actually create these segments is when you can actually come up with a strategy for those segments. Because unless you do that, you wouldn't know which segment is big enough for you to actually solve for. So the answer is almost always in the data. The next one is dynamic pricing. I think this is a long-standing. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. If you're in a very competitive space, there are a lot of platforms, tools available that do price tracking. So you can just search for Shopify price tracking tools or something like that. ConvertCart does not do this, but this is very effective. What it essentially does is if you're selling a standardized product like cameras, refrigerators, appliances, fashion products, reselling stuff like watches, any of that kind of stuff, it's very important to be competitively priced because your Google product ads will mean the customer is going to pick you only if your price is good. And so, so price is kind of, it takes precedence over trust and all of these other things because the product is standardized. So there are a lot of these pricing intelligence tools that help you track pricing for your competitor. So you can give it the 10 websites you wanted to track and the SKUs that you wanted to track, and then it can also actually come back and change your price. So you have to kind of open up that side of the business. I think the other way to do this is to just use AI and research AI. For example, the new ChatGPT o1 model is a research model. So if you are, for example, in the business of yoga mats, I would want that research model to do a research of the US market, come back to me with everybody who sells yoga mats, the price they sell at, what validates or what validates the price that they are selling it at. Why do people buy from them? You could also do sentiment analysis of yourself and your customers. I'm going to come to that in a second on what sentiment analysis is. But essentially, look at it as a tool that helps you do pricing a little bit better because your ability to research, scrape data from the internet, look at your competitors, continue to keep an eye on them is easier. And I'll just tell you why I say that very quickly, completely off track. But a few months ago, I wanted to try my hands at development. I'm a through and through marketing and sales, revenue growth professional. So I've always done that my entire life. And so software development is more my co-founder's forte. And so yeah, I just wanted to play around with code. I wanted to learn to write code. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to build a Chrome application that can throw out quotes, motivational quotes for people. And you wouldn't believe it, sitting in a cafe on a Sunday, it took me 3 hours to develop it, deploy it, put it on the Google Chrome store, and it's still there. The app is called Get Back to Work Stupid. It's this muscle symbol that you see here. And every time you click on it, it throws a quote at you. I don't know if you can see it on the screen share. But yeah, see, success dawns after no is turned into a yes, right? So the very sales heavy. So interesting. One is saying that was possible because of ChatGPT and Gemini and a few other tools that I was using in tandem and YouTube. So anything is possible. So I want you to focus on solving or picking the use case that you think will matter the most for your business, and then putting all of the energy needed to actually going and implementing it for your business. Okay. The next is voice first product discovery. This is going to come back. Conversational AI, usage is going to go up big time. When voice happened, it was a lot like 3D printing. When voice came into being, everybody said, hey, internet is going to completely change. Nobody's going to browse anymore. Nobody's going to type anymore. Everybody's just going to do voice. But that's not true, because that's not how you interface. But it's also not false. About 40% of the searches on Google are voice. 58% of shoppers use voice, which is incredible. And that's true for local businesses, because generally the search query is, hey, find me a X near me. And so you've got to be relevant to that. I don't think you need to take it to the level where your website is fully voice activated and you get all of that going. But I think it's also about using natural language processing to be more relatable. Don't expect customers to search for specific keywords that you are. Don't expect customers to search for extremely difficult things, which they're not going to do. You have to be a little bit easier. So if you're, for example, selling bags, and you call them briefcases, but your customers might just be calling them a sling or something else. So I think it's extremely important that you are empathetic towards your customer. And I think this adopting voice in some way or form is exactly that. If you are a business that has less than 100 SKUs, less than 50 SKUs, I wouldn't want to bother with it. We have customers that have more than 200, 400,000 SKUs. So in their case, search and discovery is everything. It's everything. That's the entire business. That's the backbone of the entire business. So that's where this becomes extremely critical. I cannot emphasize enough about this point. I am a copy guy at heart. At heart, I love great copy. I just really think that the ability of someone to articulate something is at the core of their success. and how they will do in life in general. That's what I personally feel. And I think copy is exactly that for brands. It's how clearly can a brand explain in a second what they are all about and why someone should buy them. But the thing is, once you've done that, it's the second and the third and the fourth and the next 120 seconds that will convince the customer to buy the product you're trying to sell to them. And I cannot emphasize on how important extremely high quality product descriptions are. I, in fact, have a friend who runs an agency for just copywriting. They are phenomenal. I'm happy to connect you to them. And they do only product descriptions. Can you believe it? There's an agency that does only product descriptions. They're based out of the US. And so what they do is they A/B test product descriptions to write you one which is extremely persuasive. And I think they do a fantastic job. But as an aside, we do more than 10,000 A/B tests for our customers a year. And naturally, for A/B testing, you have to have a scale. You have to have data that allows you to test in a statistically significant way. But generally speaking, one of our biggest learning has been that you can't overlook the basics. So there are 2-3 things that this helps you do. One is, so far, if copywriting was a weakness, that can't be an excuse anymore, because AI is going to do a phenomenal job of doing that for you. It will at least give you a version 1 and a version 2, and then you can, as an entrepreneur or as an operator, take it to the next level. But the goal is to actually try and address some of the key questions your customers might have about your product, to try and convince them that you are better and here is why you are better. So whether you're trying to highlight features, whether you're trying to talk about use cases, whether you're trying to talk about anything else that is important to your customer, it's important that you do it in the description. This is also one of the best ways to make AI take notice of you. AI is essentially any kind of AI, any model. Like, you've looked at DeepSeek R1, you've looked at all the O1, 4O, all of the models that OpenAI is publishing, or even Gemini. They are at core a super compressor. I might be nerding out a little bit, but I think it's important for you as an e-commerce business owner to know this. They are what you call a super compressor. They take a mountain of data, process it and compress it so that it can be processed again very fast when somebody's trying to talk to it in plain English. So it's important that your product description says everything that is there to say about your product. It should explain each and every bit. It should explain, for example, if you're selling t-shirt, it should explain the type of collar you're doing, the kind of stitching that goes in, the fabric, how it feels inside, how it feels outside, the sleeves, right? Is it oversized? Is it not oversized? How do you measure this? Where is it sourced? Who manufactures it, right? Everything that is possible, you should actually talk about it in the description. Wider recommendations. So now I already spoke about visuality, kind of being visual with things, but I think recommendations play a big role. So I want to talk about this in 2 or 3 different ways. First is, we spoke about voice search. Visual search matters also. Google Lens is everywhere. Now with AI built into the iPhone, I think in another 2 months, Apple promised us iPhone 16 Pro and said that AI is built in, but it's not yet come to most phones. But I think you're all seeing where I'm going with this. For example, now with an iPhone, you can actually open your camera, point it at a text, and you can copy the text from the photo itself. And so these uses are adopted first by people who use the latest, highest end technology, which are also people with the most income, which means they are actually great customers. So if you are not adapting to that, you're appearing or you're looking like this really old school store. Unless that's a part of your brand, I wouldn't want you to be in that department. Integrating Google Lens into your website is very easy. It's 2 Google searches away. It's the easiest thing to do. So that's one fast way to do it. The hard way to do it is when you kind of go to the next level. But the easiest way to do it is to implement something, what I call an intelligent search. We do this for more than 200 e-commerce sites where we deploy IntelliSearch for them. And through that, we're able to throw out very visual results. We're able to throw those results out even when somebody is not searching. So that really makes life easy. Email personalization. Over the last 1.5 years, ConvertCard has done email marketing now for more than 100 customers. We send millions of emails out every day. That's one of the new businesses we were building, and it's going really well because we've figured out why people were not seeing success with Klaviyo, for example. If you are getting 30% or more of your revenue on emails, fantastic, you're already winning. But if you're not getting anywhere above 10%, then there's something serious that needs to be looked into. Personalization, we've realized, is the core of making this happen. It sits at the center of successful emails. And so You obviously get higher open rates, click-through rates, all of those things matter. But then, it's not about just sending product recommendations. It's about also personalizing the social proof that is being sent in the email. It's about personalizing depending on what stock statuses you are at. It's about personalizing the specific offer you want to send, right? So if you want to do like a happy Valentine's Day campaign and do that, that's fine. Those are fine. But I think it's known that about 60-70% of the revenue you get from emails is because of the workflows. And I'll tell you why I say that. Klaviyo will not say that. The reason is Klaviyo's revenue attribution is open and convert, meaning if you've sent email to 100,000 emails, of those 100,000 emails, if anybody buys in the next 7 days, irrespective of whether they clicked on your email or not, it would be attributed to that campaign. So essentially, anybody who's in your customer list that buys again will get credit, or Klaviyo will take credit for it. Whereas it's the workflows where emails, or revenue is directly attributed. You can actually change this setting in Klaviyo and change it to click and convert. But that's secondary. The important part is that you have to make sure that your recommendations and emails are highly personalized. And emails, even campaigns, go out to segmented customers that are very, very thought out. There's another important use case for AI, which is I know that Klaviyo's pricing is changed, I think effective yesterday. And so if that is happening to you as well, it's because they're trying to charge more for the same list size. So one of the things I'm seeing businesses do is clean up the list. They're trying to reduce the list size so that they don't have to pay more. But I'm just saying that don't do that. If you want to keep the entire, I think you should actually never reduce your audience. Because we have seen emails converting 6 months after not opening an email. 6th month, they might open something and convert. But the cost of keeping them on the email list is negligible. So I think it's important that you look at it that way. And so we do that. We actually try and do, as I said, RFM analysis on the list and then figure out if something needs to be excluded or not. But yeah, Klaviyo is getting expensive. So that's a problem they'll have to solve. Targeted repeat purchase campaigns. So if you're in an industry which this is relevant to, generally speaking, 40% of the revenue should be repeat for you. And a small percentage of your customers will drive 40-50% of your revenue in any given month. And when I say target repeat purchase campaign, it's so far to target and send a campaign like that, you have to do a lot of manual sorting through the data. With AI, you can actually make that a kind of repeat affair. You can essentially run a query on your Shopify sales or whatever platform you're using so that it gives you every month your VIP customers, and of the VIP customers, which are the ones who are not following the general frequency of purchase that people are supposed to follow. So that's generally the model you want to get after. I want to repeat once again. The reason I'm not going deeper into any of these is because the goal of this is to show you many, many, many use cases so that you can pick the one or two that truly matter to you and then go deeper into them on your own. I'm happy to help you. I'm always reachable. So you can reach out to me at shekhar@convertcard.com. But I just want to make sure I'm able to add maximum value through this webinar. I'm going to keep going. We're short on time. We still have halfway to go. So I'm just going to keep going. The other thing that is important with marketing is timing. So for example, send time optimization is something that Klaviyo has. Most email tools have that. But I don't think it is taking into account a lot of the behavioral data that matters, right? So for example, what it optimizes for is send the email at a time that the customer is most likely to open it. But it has completely left out of context customers' likeliness to purchase, ability to purchase, affinity to purchase, all of those things. In fact, you have so much data about where the customer is, their location, time zone, all of those things. I think there's so much that can be leveraged and done right. Generally speaking, you want to make sure you identify quiet periods, browse to buy timeframes, the latency between browse to buy. For higher value products, that's generally very high. So how can you leverage emails to not just nudge and remind, but also to suggest and add value? Like, for example, if someone is buying a really expensive piece of jewelry, education plays an important role. Although I think the naturally grown, natural diamond market is really taking a big hit. But I think every time somebody buys a decent sized diamond in their life for the first time, they go through that education process of what's clarity, cut type and style and all of those things, right? And that education, whichever jeweler does that the best, is the one to actually close that sale. It's really not who gives the best price for the diamond, because it's the education that creates the trust. And so that's what your emails and your communication should do, but it has to do it at the right time. It's when the customer is in the market for that education. And that could apply to all kinds of products. Let's keep going. If you have questions, or if you want me to stop, please put it in the chat. I am obviously, as you can see, motoring through. I can see a few more people have joined us, and I'm just going to keep pushing. All right, so I think this is a very interesting one. Early identification. ConvertCard had built a model around this, where we were essentially doing conversion affinity. People who were above 80% likely to convert, we were not showing them email opt-in pop-ups. We were not showing them unnecessary offers, because we understood that there is high intent and you really don't need to disturb their journey. But everybody else, we were trying to figure out a way to at least get their email, find a way to at least capture some information so that we can take it to the next level. Again, a really big one. You will have to build a model around it, but this one is actually easy to implement. There are a lot of tools that can help you do this straight out of the box. So if this is something that is relevant to your business, I would definitely want you to get after it. Stock levels. I know a tool that does this really well. It's called Predico. They're based out of the UK. The marketing there is run by somebody I know very well, but I've seen the product in action, so I know for a fact that it's fantastic. But generally speaking, they do a fantastic job of just-in-time stocks and also leveraging inventory turnover for sales and offers and that kind of stuff. Because there is a point where too much inventory sitting is cost, and there is a point where inventory not being there is cost. So both those problems should get solved, and AI, I think, is, again, as I said, AI is going to touch every part of the e-commerce value chain, and inventory is one such area. I think it's really important to kind of try and get some kind of metrics around sales velocity, latency to purchase, frequency of purchase, so that you are just in time with stock and you're not buying too much, you're not ordering too much. At the same time, you're making sure you're not selling too much so that you run out of stock and then you don't have anything. I remember, we had done a few campaigns for our customers where we figured out a way for them to accept business even when they were not in stock. And so that really was, you could say, transformational for them. And I think that those are things that really solve fundamental business cash flow, profitability issues if you can crack that in the right way. Review and sentiments. This is the easiest thing now. So I'll give you a very simple example. I was talking to this EV company owner recently, really large EV company. I'm not going to tell you who it was, because when we do an audit, sometimes we are asked to sign an NDA. And so I'm under NDA still. And so I wanted to kind of get a pulse check on them. And I did my research. I looked through Reddit. I did some manual kind of research on the company. But then I used an AI platform. I fed it a bunch of information. I said, hey, I want you to tell me what the internet thinks about X, that company. It's not X, but yeah, what that company. I used X as a variable. And then I kept querying, and what it gave me some really specific and statistically significant insights, which actually 6 months ago would have taken a ton of manual research. And so the call was extremely rich. And I think that user insight that is generally very hard to get is slowly becoming easier to get, because you can actually query just your competition or whatever space you are in. For example, if you are in the wedding space, you could look at the most selling men's fashion trends, wedding fashion trends for 2024 on the East Coast. And, to be honest, I tried that search. Not that I'm getting married, but I wanted to just do it because we were working with a huge, wedding fashion company. And there are things that I read for the first time in my life. Like, I have never heard those fabric names and that kind of, dress styles till I had made that search. And I think the only case in which I would have discovered that is maybe if I would have actually gone and spoken to 50 actual customers that will probably use that. So I'm just saying that it's a lot of already processed research is at arm's length. And as a business, it's our responsibility to leverage that. In this case, one of the things we are doing for our customers, for example, is we are doing the sentiment analysis the day they sign up with us. And so what we realized, in a lot of cases, the insight is something completely different. For example, a lot of people that order love the packaging more than the product. but we're not talking about it, and we're not giving people that assurance, because when you're selling something that could break, for example, um, you know, it's really important that you give the customer confidence that it's not going to break because the packaging is really top notch. But now it's your customers talking about it, so that's obviously fantastic. So product reviews, chat logs, return season reason data, survey and feedback responses, all of those things will give you a solid sentiment analysis on what people like and what they don't. This one is a little tricky, product identification for social media. I think it's still very, very high level. It's similar to how a lot of SEO companies and tools came into existence in the last 2 years saying, hey, we are able to give you a sentiment of what people really like, but it's really high level signals. Product identification for social media promotions essentially analyzes trends, what kind of hashtags, what is Instagram doing, what are people wearing, not wearing, what's working, not working, and it tells you what to talk about when. For example, you might want to talk about oversized t-shirts on Fridays or Thursdays because people are probably going to an event on the weekend and they want to buy, right? And or you want to talk about, if you are in, say, if you're in pet products business, you want to talk about that on Sundays. It could be any of that. But generally speaking, any good tool will help you get that insight on what time and day is best to post on socials about a specific topic. There are many tools like this. Simple Google search will get you where to get there, or you can just use something like a Perplexity to take it to the next level. Smart cart recovery. Generally speaking, what I want you to have as a benchmark, forget about all the numbers on the screen, one simple benchmark. 50% of all the clicks on cart recovery emails should convert. 50% is the conversion rate you want for people who click on your cart abandonment email or cart recovery email, as you might want to call it, right? Now, whether it is email or SMS, doesn't matter. You have to crack timing, you have to crack personalization, and you have to crack a lucrative enough offer that makes you want to go to the next level. So that's when the 50% will actually happen. And I think there are many ways to do it. Some people are now sending the customer to a chatbot saying, hey, did you have any questions about this? If your product is bespoke or complex in any way or form where people are likely to have some questions about the product, it's okay to send them to chat. Otherwise, bring in user-generated content, add a lot of social proof, and let AI do some of that for you. I think this is also where A/B testing and experimentation will play a very, very big role. Okay. All right. I hope I'm not going too fast. You can please put in the chat if you feel I'm going too fast. And I have a couple of chat messages, but again, people are DMing me. So when you're putting any questions in the chat, please pick everyone so that others can see your question as well. And that allows me to, make sure that I can answer it while everybody else has context. Just a quick second. Okay. Now, I think RTO is obviously return to origin is one of the things that we are all trying to solve for. There's no doubt about that. But predicting returns based on customer data is something that AI is fantastic at. We've seen the accuracy here being very, very high. Again, a lot of tools do this. Is this a priority for you? Is this a problem for you? Is something that you will have to take a call on. But there are two things. Here, you are trying to find the products or customer behavior that could create a return. And in those cases, maybe like for a lot of Southeast Asian markets, cash on delivery is a very common form of payment. And so there's a way in which you can detect if the customer is likely to be a dicey purchase, and you can turn off cash on delivery as an option because the cost of RTO is very high in those cases. The other thing that matters here is identifying serial returners, constant offenders, going through your data, kind of understanding if somebody is trying to game the system. If you're at a certain scale, this is relevant because you're bigger than small and you're probably not able to recognize the pattern in a manual way, or nobody in your team can do that. I also think that most of these AI initiatives are fantastic from a founder or e-commerce entrepreneur perspective because they could be like your special project for the rest of Feb. Pick up one thing, solve that problem, hire someone who can just do this for you, maybe an intern who can set something like this up for you, and then that's it. You have a system that runs for you. This is, in my opinion, the most obvious implementation of AI. If you are a gorgeous user, I would love to hear from you and how things are going. But generally speaking, this is the first job AI is going to replace, in my opinion, because the similarity of experience between chat and this is very similar. It's the first job that AI is going to take. And if anybody ever tells you that AI is not going to replace jobs, they're wrong. They're going to replace jobs. They're going to create other jobs to offset that. So it's not the end of the world. As I said, it's a gift. It's fantastic. There's a lot of repetitive work, non-creative work that humans are essentially doing today, and that keeps them busy. But as a business, it makes the business less efficient. So I think about 80-90% of your support should be AI handled. And this is an easy thing to do. Very easy thing to do. If this is not yet done, I think everybody should do. This is a use case everybody should prioritize and just go after. I think this is a very easy one. Virtual try-on. This is again super important. Anything if you're selling anything in the fashion slash. In fact, there's a lot of AR try-on also now, which is when you're trying to sell something which is for home use and you're trying to let people see it in action in their own space. Again, a very easy technology to implement now. The only interesting thing is with AI, this is going to become very cheap. It's going to become very cheap to implement something like. So far, there are tools that were charging on a per try-on slash per 100 try-on basis. All of that is going to go out of the window. This is going to become very cheap. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 6 to 12 months, you would have every small fashion site having a virtual try-on because they can afford to do it now. And it's the easiest thing to do. So I think, again, you could do multiple relevant recommendations when someone is trying that on, offer before and after context for bottom of the funnel. So I think there's so much that can be done within that. But yeah, second last idea, we have 2 more to go, and then I'll open it up for questions. Behavior-based ad copy. So this is very simple, but I think it's easier said than done. Generally speaking, you want to set up an ad funnel, right? So you have an awareness stage ad where you're talking about the product, showing amazing visuals. You've just made the customer aware about this amazing black t-shirt brand that you've started, right? The second is consideration, which is when you're asking them to now go in and take a look at it. So you're maybe showing customer reviews, you're showing customers talking about the product, customers wearing the product. And so curiosity is increasing so that they click. If they click and they go to the site, they are converted to retargeting, which is intent stage ads. And so in that case, now you are trying to show them an offer, a free shipping, a low stock, or maybe a different color. And once that's done, then you are at purchase stage where you're trying to run advertising, which is rooted in loyalty. You're trying to repeat purchase, you're trying to cross-sell, you're trying to do all of these things. So that's like in 60 seconds, the ad strategy you want to follow as an e-commerce brand. But then where does AI fit? It fits everywhere. I think it's in ad copies, they get stale very fast. I think most of you know that Meta has really increased the weightage on the frequency metric in your ad panel. So you have a metric called frequency, which is how many times the average person you are reaching has seen that same ad. The closer it gets to the number 2, the slower your ad delivery becomes. So you have to switch your creative out, do a new copy, try out a new visual, do that kind of stuff. And so the solution for that is now you can actually do that at a very rapid pace because AI allows you to do different copies one after another. It can also allow you to do different visuals one after another, right? Editing stuff, product images, etc. is the easiest today. Canva is on fire, with that kind of stuff. And I think smaller businesses are using it in a big way. I think otherwise we are all using Figma very actively with power users. And I think all of the AI features, they are really helping. So I recommend you get your hands dirty because if you don't see these features in action firsthand, as a creative entrepreneur or an operator, you would never know where to use them. So that's really important. But yes, get platform specific ad copies, analyze your product description, pick up those emotional sentiments that you got from the sentiment analysis, bring it into the ad, make sure it's very visible. And then of course, find patterns, look at different languages, understand that your customers are a diverse set of people, and it's not the same thing that you could say to everyone that's going to click. You have to diversify your messaging as well. And finally, adjust loyalty program rewards. I cannot tell you enough. I cannot explain strongly enough how much money the brands lose because of over discounting or over rewarding their customers. And so you want to make sure that there's some way in which you are evaluating your program, rewards program. And again, what you want to analyze is purchase patterns, figure out some kind of a predictive model to understand how much money would you end up losing at different tiers of the loyalty program. And then reconfigure your loyalty program so that it's really exciting when it gets started, and then it becomes kind of ongoing once somebody is already loyal. Because once you have driven the loyalty behavior, it shouldn't be that you're rewarding your customers extremely handsomely continuously and your margins are taking a hit. Because it's the loyal customer that is the highest margin for you. But in a lot of cases, loyalty programs over reward the loyal customer and takes the margins away. So I think you have to be smart about it. And AI, I think that's a solid use case. This for example, graphic explains it very well. What is the redemption rate, time to redeem, program ROI? So these metrics that I feel will help you elevate your loyalty program if that's something that your business really relies on to drive repeat and loyalty. Once again, I think I had mentioned 20 use cases. Here's 20 use cases. I would love to hear questions, thoughts. And again, please don't DM. Put it in the chat for everyone, or there's a Q&A section. I'm glad so many of you stuck around till the end. And yep, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But yep, you've got 20 solid ways in which you can leverage AI. And don't forget that I would also love to get feedback from you on things that you want us to talk about, any other areas you want us to double down on. We are doing this in a very disciplined way for the last many months. And a lot of repeat people are joining us to listen to this every month. So it gives us confidence that it's adding value. But I would love to understand what is it that you want us to kind of expand on. Do you want to learn more about models? Do you want to learn more about how some of the AI tooling in e-commerce is going to work, etc.? But I'm happy to expand on any of that in our consecutive sessions. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for now. Otherwise, we can close and I can gift you a few minutes back. Okay, I think some of the questions I've answered, there's one question which I'm going to take offline. And because it's very specific to the business, there are actually two like that. So I'm going to take them later on. But yep, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for the time that you've taken to go through this. I hope this was of value. Please embrace AI. It's a gift. And it's only when you do that, you'll realize how efficient it's going to make your business. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Happy selling.